Gavin Powell was my best friend. And to be honest, Gavin Powell is still my best friend. I've tried calling other people best friends since his death 10 years ago, and it's just never felt right. Gavin and I were neighbors who began to play when we were about 3 or 4, and I don't have any memories of my childhood before he was in my life. His loss is a hole that nothing is ever going to fill. At school, Gavin met Matt Miller, who became a regular part of our friend group. Matt and I became fast friends, and I was often included in Gavin and Matt's various schemes and shenanigans. Matt and I were friends, but it was a different relationship than what I had with Gavin. And I guess that's something I'd like to talk about from the outset. I only know my own experiences, and Gavin was just in a lot more of my experiences than Matt. I'll end up discussing Gavin more because Gavin was more in my life. It's not my intention to avoid or otherwise minimize Matt Miller in my life or in other people's lives. I mean, he's spent the last decade in my wallet, so it's not like he doesn't matter to me. And when Gavin's on my mind, Matt's there too. I just want to explain before I get started that any sort of bias or favoritism that may appear in my discussion of events or just who I focus on more or anything like that is colored entirely by my experiences and not by anything I'm doing deliberately. And I guess that's as natural a place as any to talk about this video and what I'm doing. Hi, I'm Aidanherric, and like I said at the top, Gavin was my best friend. Gavin and Matt died together in a tragic event nearly 10 years ago. And in the last 10 years, my life has changed in ways I could have never possibly imagined. I went to college, I met the love of my life, I've been with him 7 years, and whenever I try to explain to him something about my friend, I find myself reaching. Stories lose their details, and timelines get a little wigglier. My memories are only getting foggier. Stories are becoming tales, are becoming anecdotes, are becoming one-liners, and I am scared that soon they'll be nothing. They say that no one truly dies until everyone who has loved them has forgotten. Well, I loved Gavin and Matt. I love Gavin and Matt, and I'm not going to forget. So I'm trying to preserve memories of them, both my own and those of everybody who was our age when they passed. I've already begun conducting interviews and gathering materials, and I intend to continue making videos after this one. If you're interested in being interviewed and I haven't already contacted you, please get in touch with me at this email or through a link in the description below. And that's all I really have at the moment. I just want to explain what the hell it is that I'm doing. But before I go, I wanted to explain something about Matt and Gavin. I've met a fair amount of people in the last 10 years who didn't know them, but who knew about what happened. I've heard a lot from strangers and outsiders about how stupid rafting in the canal was, and how come they didn't know better, and etc., etc. I'm not here to say it was a good plan, but I was there while it was being put together, and I'm unclear on who else, if anyone, was privy to what they were thinking besides me, and I feel somewhat obligated to discuss what I know. I've heard a lot of people use the word genius to describe Gavin and Matt, and I've got some extreme reservations about the way we as a society discuss intelligence, but generally I would be inclined to agree. They were intuitive, and they were insightful, and they were curious about the world around them. But even more than that, they were interested in altering the world around them. Gavin and Matt and I would bike around Walnut Creek, spray painting old maligmas here with different slogans intended to provoke thought in whoever saw them. And these weren't pointless acts of vandalism, at least not to us. They were these transgressive attempts to stimulate this sterile suburban environment we found ourselves in. Everything Gavin and Matt did had a philosophical underpinning against complacency, and at some point this way of thinking gave birth to this plan to exploit the beast of the suburbs for our own entertainment. Gavin and Matt both had previous experience with rafting, and I couldn't tell you when exactly the plan materialized to try rafting in the canal, but it made sense. We figured out a route on Google Maps, we went into the canal on foot and walked the whole thing. It was an actual plan. And then, well...
More details of the deaths of 2 teenage rafters from Walnut Creek.
At some point I'll do a whole video dedicated to the accident, but that's not this video. That's not what I'm doing here, right now. I will say, though, that I am very lucky to be here at all. I was supposed to be there, and the only reason I wasn't was because I was at a funeral that day, the irony of which, rest assured, has never been lost on me for a single second. But the rest of that painful story is for another day. So that's the plan, Stan. I'm a grown-ass man with a lot of boring adult stuff that eats up a lot of my time, so don't expect anything like a regular release schedule for these videos, but I'll do my best. I am excited to make more of these and talk to as many people as possible. And again, if you would like to talk to me about Gavin and Matt, even if you only knew them briefly, please get in touch with me. All the interviews I conduct will be transcribed and posted publicly. I'm not sure where yet. They may end up on archive.org, they may go somewhere else. I'm still looking into it. If you want to talk but you don't want our conversation public, that's fine. This is all totally consent-based, and anything you want to stay private will stay private. The whole point of this project is to preserve as many memories as possible while we can still remember them, and if you want your memories locked up safe, I can respect that. Until then, keep the memory alive, and I guess I'll see you next time.